It's happening right now, and most riders don't realize how serious it is yet. Nearly 2 million motorcycles, new, used, and repossessed combined, are being dumped into a market that can't absorb them. Used listings are stacking up, auction prices are breaking down, and dealers are sitting on bikes they can't move. When that much inventory floods the system, values don't drift, they collapse. That affects what your bike is worth, what a dealer will offer on trade, and whether selling even makes sense anymore. Watch till the end, because once you see where the real prices are falling and which bikes are getting hit hardest, you'll understand why the next few months matter more than most riders think. The sudden silence in America's dealerships. Walk into a dealership today, and the first thing that hits you is the silence. The kind of silence older riders remember only during snowstorms or holidays when every shop in town was closed. Except this time, it is the middle of a Saturday, and the building feels hollow. Rows of cruisers and touring machines sit motionless under showroom lights that buzz louder than the conversations that used to fill the place. Sales counters look abandoned, with pens neatly arranged, but no one standing behind them. The echo of your own footsteps feels out of place in a room that once thrived on loud voices, handshakes, and the crack of a starter kicking a big V-twin to life. Riders used to gather in these shops just to talk, to argue about the best tire for a long run through the mountains, or to compare old carb setups from the 70s. You could feel energy bouncing off the walls. But now, staff linger near the service entrance, sipping coffee, glancing at the door every few minutes, hoping someone walks in. Even the air feels stale, like a room waiting for something that will not arrive. A veteran rider stepping inside today does not need a headline to tell him something is wrong. He can feel it, and that uneasy feeling grew sharper when a stunning discovery surfaced. The discovery of 2 million unmoved motorcycles. What started as quiet speculation inside a few dealerships turned into a jolt through the entire motorcycle world when early industry tallies revealed something no one expected. Across the country, stacked in showrooms, crowded into backlots, stored in warehouses, and sitting in classified listings, an astonishing total emerged. Roughly 2 million motorcycles had not moved, not ridden, not sold, not even negotiated. They simply sat, waiting for buyers who never appeared. This revelation did not come from a dramatic announcement. It leaked in pieces. A distributor mentioned shifting fewer units. A used bike network reported listings climbing faster than usual. Shipping companies noticed stray pallets being redirected to storage yards, already at capacity. When those fragments finally came together, the total number felt unreal, yet every shop in America seemed to confirm it in its own quiet way. Riders who still make the rounds at their local dealerships began noticing machines that had been in the exact same spot for months. Color tags fading in the sunlight, mirrors coated with a fine layer of dust. A few bikes even still wearing pre-season price tags from the year before. It was not a trickle. It was a buildup so massive that even seasoned industry veterans struggled to comprehend it. 2 million motorcycles standing still, and the impact of that discovery became impossible to ignore once riders looked at the streets and lots outside the dealerships. If you're following this breakdown and want the truth behind what's unfolding in real time, make sure you like the video and subscribe. Vanishing buyer foot traffic across the country. Weekends used to be the heartbeat of American motorcycle culture. Riders rolled into town, parked in long lines outside dealerships, wandered through the aisles, and compared machines the way some people compare stories from old photo albums. But lately, the spaces where riders once gathered feel strangely empty. Parking lots that used to overflow with touring rigs and weathered cruisers now look like unused staging areas. A few trucks might drift through, but the steady stream of riders who once walked through those doors has nearly disappeared. Across state after state, managers quietly admit they have never seen such thin foot traffic. Not during slow winters, not during fuel spikes, not even during past recessions. Entire mornings pass without a single visitor stepping onto the showroom floor. Afternoon hours come and go with nothing but the sound of air conditioners and distant service bay clatter. A place that once felt alive with movement now feels paused, as if waiting for a crowd that took a wrong turn and never found its way back. Even on perfect riding days, dealership entrances remain untouched. You can almost hear the absence. No helmet straps snapping undone, no discussions about chrome finishes, no familiar jokes about test rides being just to take a look. The rhythm of rider traffic has faded across the country, and inside the shops, that silence pushed dealers to act in ways no one expected. Real riders know comfort and control start long before the first mile. Your gears and accessories are linked below. The first signs of dealer panic. The earliest signs were small, almost unnoticeable. A banner offering a modest discount, a promotion extended one more week, a salesman mentioning a deal that felt a little too generous. But as weeks rolled on, those quiet adjustments grew into something far more telling. Dealers who once held their ground with confidence began shifting their tone, softening their pitches, and revealing a level of urgency that riders had rarely seen before. Showrooms that historically guarded their margins suddenly displayed signs promising unheard-of incentives. Floor models carried freshly printed tags with dramatic markdowns. Sales staff, who once guided customers with firm expertise, now leaned in with a sense of eagerness, offering perks and add-ons with unusual speed. You could hear it in their voices, a mix of hope, pressure, and the weight of too many unsold machines behind them. Some shops rearranged their entire floor layout to make the space feel busier. Others extended hours, waiting for traffic that never materialized. A few even organized last-minute events, hoping to reignite interest with coffee, donuts, or nostalgia rides. But the shift was unmistakable. The calm professionalism that defined seasoned dealerships began giving way to something tense, something pressing, something that suggested the ground beneath the industry was moving. Riders did not need spreadsheets or forecasts to sense what was coming. They only had to watch how dealers behaved when the floor felt too still for too long. And this was only the beginning, the first tremor, before the deeper story emerged in the next part. The auction floor, where the real prices are exposed. If you really want to know what a motorcycle is worth, you do not look at a dealership sticker or an online listing. You look at the auction floor, where machines roll across concrete under harsh lights. And the numbers that matter are the ones whispered between buyers holding paddles. These are the moments when every illusion drops away. Auction houses do not care about showroom polish, brand prestige, or sentimental value. They care about what the market is willing to pay right now. And lately, that number has been lower than many riders ever imagined. On any given week, trailers back up to these facilities carrying cruisers, tours, and sport machines that once commanded strong resale. They arrive with clean paint, decent miles, and histories that would have brought respectable offers a few years ago. But as more units cross the block, the bidding grows thinner. Buyers wait for the next machine, then the next, knowing that no one needs to rush when inventory pours in without slowing down. Prices drop, not because of emotion, but because supply has overwhelmed patience. What riders see listed for $10,000 in a public marketplace might go for $6,000 on the auction floor, and that gap is the heartbeat of the current collapse. But auctions are only part of the picture, because another source of inventory has been feeding this flood with relentless force. The repo surge and lender liquidation pressure. When a loan goes unpaid long enough, the process that follows is mechanical, cold, and swift. Lenders track the account, issue notices, then eventually send someone to take the motorcycle back. These repossessed machines are not held for negotiation or placed gently into retail channels. They are treated as assets that must be converted to cash as quickly as possible. Once they arrive at holding lots, the clock starts ticking, and lenders will accept whatever amount clears the balance sheet fastest. This surge did not surface gently. Trucks began appearing at storage yards more frequently, each carrying bikes that had been pulled from garages, driveways, and apartment lots. The machines themselves tell no story, but the stacking rows say plenty. Lenders do not want to store motorcycles for months. They want them gone, and the only efficient path is to dump them at auctions where volume moves fast. These units hit the block with little ceremony, no emotional attachment, and no attempt to preserve value. They are there to be liquidated. As more repossessions arrive, auction buyers grow even more cautious, quietly adjusting their bids downward because they know more inventory is still coming. This chain reaction does not pause or negotiate. It simply pushes more motorcycles into a system already overflowing. Yet repossessions were not the only wave reshaping the market, because another group began selling for entirely different reasons. The pandemic rider sell-off flooding classifieds. During the pandemic years, many people who had never owned a motorcycle before decided it was time to try. Wide open roads, fewer commitments, and a push toward outdoor activities made riding look appealing. Dealers could not keep popular models on the floor. Classified listings thinned out as newcomers bought machines in record numbers. But enthusiasm, built under unique conditions, often fades when normal routines return, and that is exactly what happened. As life settled back into its old pace, casual riders realized they were barely putting any miles on their new machines. Insurance bills felt unnecessary. Maintenance reminders felt like a chore. Many simply lost interest. So, they did what anyone would do with an underused toy taking up garage space. They put it up for sale. At first, it was barely noticeable, a small uptick in used listings. But by the time the pattern became obvious, the number of private owners trying to offload bikes had climbed dramatically. These sellers were not trying to undercut the market. They were simply trying to move on. Still, each time another listing appeared with a fair asking price, it nudged the overall supply upward. Multiply that by thousands across the country, and the used market swelled far beyond what typical demand could absorb. And just as this wave grew, the timing patterns riders trusted for decades began breaking apart. The breakdown of seasonal motorcycle pricing patterns. For as long as most riders can remember, the motorcycle market followed a predictable rhythm. Spring brought excitement and higher prices. Summer kept demand strong. Fall introduced modest drops. Winter offered deals for the patient. These cycles were as familiar as the riding seasons themselves, helping buyers and sellers plan their moves with confidence. But now, that rhythm has fractured, and the market no longer behaves in any recognizable way. Spring used to be the moment when shops buzzed. Private listings surged with activity, and prices climbed naturally. Yet this time, spring arrived with no lift at all. Bikes that should have sold in a single weekend sat untouched. Summer offered no relief, with interest staying flat instead of rising. Even regions known for strong seasonal riding reported no meaningful increase in demand. The old rules that guided generations of riders suddenly had no effect. By autumn, it became clear that the cycle had not merely shifted, but collapsed entirely. Prices were no longer responding to warmer weather, holiday weekends, or regional events. They drifted downward month after month, disconnected from the seasonal cues riders trusted for decades. Even winter did not behave like a traditional bargain window, because inventory levels were already so high that discounts felt less like opportunities and more like symptoms. The calendar's influence has weakened, leaving the market moving without its usual heartbeat or anchors. And with the mechanics now exposed, the deeper consequences begin to take shape in the next one. Riders trapped in underwater loans. Across the country, riders are discovering a painful truth when they check the real value of their machines. A motorcycle that once felt like an investment in freedom now sits on the wrong side of the ledger. Owners who financed bikes at strong retail prices suddenly find that those machines are worth far less than what remains on their loans. A touring rig purchased for $30,000 might now appraise closer to $20,000, yet the remaining balance refuses to shrink. It is a situation that tightens around a rider's budget like a slowly closing vice. The emotional weight of this cannot be understated. Riders take pride in their machines. Many saved for years before signing the papers. Others traded in older bikes and added cash just to lock down a dream model. Now they stare at balances that feel unfairly inflated compared to current market conditions. And when they consider selling, the math becomes even more discouraging. Most cannot break even. Some would owe thousands after giving up the bike, and few are willing to face that kind of loss. Even those who planned to upgrade discover they are stuck in place, unable to move without taking a heavy financial blow. The machine that once symbolized freedom now complicates their options. And while riders face personal strain, the places that keep them supplied and serviced are feeling their own pressure grow. Before we move into the final stretch, take a second to subscribe. Staying connected ensures you never miss the next update as this situation evolves. The more you know, the better positioned you'll be when the next wave hits the market. Dealership strain and the local business squeeze. Inside many dealerships, the tension is no longer subtle. Carrying costs build month after month as unsold units fill floors and overflow into backrooms. Every motorcycle on the lot represents insurance, interest, and storage expenses that do not pause just because customers have stopped walking through the door. Staff members who once juggled steady streams of buyers now pace the floor or focus on maintenance tasks that used to be reserved for slower hours. Payroll begins to feel heavy when revenue slows, and some shops trim schedules or reduce overtime simply to stay afloat. Service departments, traditionally the backbone of many local dealerships, also feel the pinch. Riders postponing upgrades and maintenance reduce the volume that keeps technicians busy. Small purchases in parts departments taper off. Accessories that once moved quickly gather dust on shelves that cost money to stock and maintain. The slowdown chips away at the interconnected system that supports dealership operations, and the strain becomes increasingly visible. Some owners quietly discuss consolidating roles or scaling back inventory orders. Others consider whether their family-run shops, built through decades of community relationships, can survive another season like this. The pressure is not loud, but it is relentless, and it changes the rhythm of daily business. And beneath that financial stress lies an even deeper shift, one reshaping the very identity of motorcycling in America. The demographic cliff reshaping American motorcycling. For generations, long-distance riders formed the beating heart of American motorcycling. They filled highways with cross-country runs, weekend rallies, and steady dealership traffic. Many of these riders are now in their 60s and 70s, carrying decades of stories, skills, and miles. But age does what it always does. Some are riding less, some are stepping away entirely, and the wave of younger riders needed to replace them has not materialized in equal strength. Younger generations still appreciate motorcycles, but they approach the lifestyle differently. For many, riding is not a defining identity or a long-term commitment. Competing interests, shifting economic priorities, and less mechanical exposure while growing up all contribute to a smaller pool entering the culture. When fewer new riders adopt the lifestyle, the community quietly contracts. Dealership events feel smaller, group rides thin out, clubs that once boasted strong membership now work harder to recruit. This demographic shift affects more than numbers. It influences the atmosphere of the entire culture. The shared language of older rider stories about two-stroke legends, roadside repairs, and long-haul endurance does not resonate the same way with younger entrants. The result is a cultural crossroads, where the traditions built over decades face uncertainty. And while the rider base adjusts, the companies behind the machines must confront sweeping challenges of their own. Brand-level consequences for major manufacturers. Major manufacturers, long accustomed to predictable demand cycles, now face a landscape where expectations must be rewritten. Harley-Davidson, Honda, Indian, Yamaha, Kawasaki, and Suzuki are all reassessing their strategies in response to shifting market conditions. Shipment cuts appear in quarterly updates. Production schedules that once ran at steady volume now adjust downward to match slower retail activity. Forecasts that previously leaned on optimistic recovery trends adopt more conservative tones as companies prepare for an uncertain future. Factories respond by reducing output, delaying model refreshes, or reallocating resources toward segments that still show stability. Some brands explore updated versions of core models, while others limit variations to control manufacturing costs. Over time, these decisions influence what riders see on showroom floors. Fewer color options, tighter inventories of specific trims, and subtle changes in lineup complexity reflect the adjustments made behind the scenes. Even overseas operations linked to American demand feel the ripple. Suppliers accustomed to steady orders now manage reduced schedules. Distribution networks tighten their projections. Marketing departments shift their focus toward value-driven campaigns instead of broad lifestyle appeals. Every corner of the organizational chain adapts to the new environment. Manufacturers recognize that the current conditions are not a temporary fluctuation, but a structural challenge requiring deliberate recalibration. Their responses will shape the availability, variety, and direction of motorcycles for years to come. And with these consequences unfolding across riders, dealers, and brands, the wider economic and cultural landscape becomes the next frontier to examine. Impact on factories, workers, and parts suppliers. Across manufacturing towns, the slowdown in motorcycle demand has begun to ripple through factories that once ran at full rhythm. Assembly lines that used to move with steady purpose now operate at reduced speed or sit idle for longer stretches between shifts. Workers accustomed to predictable hours face cutbacks, shorter schedules, or temporary furloughs as companies recalibrate production. For many communities built around these plants, the sound of machinery winding down carries an unsettling weight because the factory is more than a workplace. It is an anchor for the region's stability. Parts suppliers feel the pressure just as sharply. When manufacturers order fewer components, the small and mid-sized suppliers, who provide everything from brake parts to wiring harnesses, suddenly confront reduced volume. Some suppliers try to diversify their contracts, while others trim staff or pause expansion plans. Local economies that depended on high-volume manufacturing absorb the shock in subtle but steady ways. Restaurants, hardware stores, and service businesses near these plants notice quieter days. The industrial ecosystem supporting motorcycle production has always relied on consistent demand. When that cycle weakens, the impact spreads across entire regions, affecting workers, families, and long-standing supply networks. And while these economic ripples disrupt local industries, the political sphere is beginning to react to the shifting terrain. Political and regulatory ripples triggered by the collapse. The sharp decline in motorcycle activity has caught the attention of policymakers who track how consumer industries contribute to state and federal revenue. With fewer motorcycles being registered, repaired, or insured, states begin to notice subtle declines in tax intake associated with vehicle sales, licensing fees, and related transactions. These dips are not catastrophic individually, but they become significant when combined across multiple regions. The result is a growing awareness among state leaders that an important revenue stream is showing signs of strain. Insurance regulators are watching closely as fluctuating resale values force deeper reviews of underwriting formulas and spark calls for standardized reporting. Lending oversight committees study how financing behaves under stress and consider tightening approval standards or updating disclosures. At the federal level, lawmakers request analyst briefings to gauge broader economic implications. No sweeping legislation has appeared yet, but the groundwork for future inquiries is clearly taking shape as the disruption draws increasing attention. And as domestic policymakers evaluate the landscape, the global motorcycle economy is undergoing its own period of adjustment. How the global motorcycle economy responds. Around the world, the motorcycle industry is adapting to the American slowdown with strategic caution. In Japan, major manufacturers revisit long-term production forecasts. Adjusting output to ensure international supply remains balanced. They refine their lineups, emphasize core models, and reallocate certain production runs to markets where demand remains steady. These companies have navigated shifts before, and their response reflects a steady, methodical reassessment rather than abrupt reaction. European manufacturers take a different approach, studying how the American downturn might influence touring and performance segments abroad. Some explore targeted updates to established lines, while others focus on refining specialty models that appeal to niche communities. The goal is to maintain identity while positioning themselves advantageously as global demand patterns shift. Suppliers supporting these brands align their schedules accordingly, coordinating with factories to ensure efficient production without creating excess stock. In regions where motorcycles remain daily necessities, manufacturers watch conditions closely and adapt without panic, adjusting routes, distribution, and production to match shifting demand. The global motorcycle economy responds as a mosaic of local strategies shaped by circumstance and vision. And while manufacturers and governments adapt on a worldwide scale, individual riders face a different kind of future. One shaped by practicality, opportunity, and the desire to keep riding the new road ahead for riders. For riders looking toward the next decade, the landscape ahead is marked by both challenge and opportunity. The uncertainty surrounding motorcycle values creates a moment that rewards patience and careful decisions. Those considering a purchase may find more favorable conditions as inventory cycles adapt and sellers become more flexible. Riders who prefer traditional gasoline machines will still have access to a wide range of models, though the variety may tighten as manufacturers streamline their offerings. What remains will likely be focused, refined, and built with clearer purpose. Selling requires a different mindset. Riders hoping to part with a machine may choose to wait for stability or accept that value is not the only measure of a motorcycle's worth. Many choose to preserve and maintain what they already own, investing in longevity rather than replacement. This approach strengthens the bond between rider and machine, a connection many consider central to the joy of motorcycling. Seasoned riders will shape the culture ahead by sharing knowledge, stories, and experience. The road may change, yet it still offers quiet mornings and long stretches of freedom for anyone who keeps moving. The future will be built through steady adaptation and deliberate choices, turning this collapse from mere numbers into a defining moment for the next era of motorcycling. The old rules don't apply anymore, and riders who stay informed will make better moves than the ones who don't. Let us know what bikes are sitting or selling in your area by dropping a comment below. If this video gave you clarity, hit like so more riders see it. And subscribe to our channel, because we're staying on this story, following the market, the dealers, and the price drops, so you're not caught off guard.